Hi, I'm Kira. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my February wrap-up. This is going to be all the books that I read in February. I am filming this a couple days before the end of the month, but I really don't think I'm going to finish another book. But if I end up finishing another one, I'll let you know at the end of this. Here are the physical books that I read and my Kindle, because this was a very Kindle and ARC heavy month. So let's go over the stats to start. I read a total of 11 books, which is one better than last month. Better than I was doing this time last year. I think last year, February, was my worst reading month in terms of how much I read. I think I only read 3 books. Genuinely don't know what happened there. I think that was like a really heavy school month for me, because I was still in college last year. Not anymore. So total 11 books, 5 of them were physical and 6 of them were ebooks. And of those 6 ebooks, 5 of them were ARCs. They just all somehow managed to be released this month. One of them though is a couple months away, I just couldn't wait. In March, I currently have no ARCs to read, but I think I might be getting one. And I'm going to try to keep it that way so I can focus on my physical TBR. And then I DNF'd 2 books, so we're going to start with that. The first book I DNF'd was Just My Type by Fallon Ballard. I believe I started this at the end of my 24-hour readathon. I think I got about 60% in before I just said I'm done. I could not do it anymore. Let's look at my review. I literally don't remember. It feels like months ago that I read these. I said in my review that I was genuinely liking this book up until like 20%. Oh yeah, it was like the girl didn't like the guy because something happened at their high school reunion or something, and we didn't find out what happened until that like 60% mark. So as the reader, you didn't really see why she didn't like the guy until then. She's like, I was really liking the guy, and I was like, girl, why do you hate him so much? Because we didn't get his perspective. It was just the girl's point of view the whole book. And he was like being really nice and sweet, and I didn't know what happened between them. And then it was just a stupid miscommunication, I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay, and this is gonna be a kind of spoiler, so if you don't want to hear anything, skip to this time and you'll be good. The miscommunication about what happened at the reunion and why she hates him so much, she thought what happened between them was his fault, and she was getting mad at him for being hurt about the things that she said to him and about how it was his fault. And she was like, you don't deserve to feel this way when you're the one who caused this between us. And then when we find out what happened 60% into the book, it was her fault the whole time. It was also second chance romance because they were together and then the reunion thing happened and they broke up. I don't like second chance romances that much. It's just a case by case, depends. More than half the time though, I don't like it. I read 3 second chance romances this month and only one of them got 5 stars from me, so. And then the other one I DNF'd was Too Wrong to Be Right by Melanie Johnson. I think I got like a chapter in and the writing was just not for me, and then I looked at Goodreads reviews and a lot of people said it wasn't great, so I just didn't want to waste my time on it because I had so many other ARCs to read. So now that we're done with the books that I DNF'd this month, we're gonna get into the 11 that I actually did finish. The first 3 are ARCs. First one being Splintered Ice by Callie Mully. I don't know, she put how to pronounce her last name on her Instagram story a couple weeks ago. This is the 6th book in the Windcoat Wolves series. It's a hockey romance series. I got the ARC for The Goalie Who Stole Christmas, which is the 5th book, and I really liked it. I hadn't read any of the other books in the series. I still haven't gone back to read the first 4 books in this series, but I do plan on it. This one I did not like as much as the other one. I gave this one 3 stars. It was a lot of back and forth and then being like, oh, I want to be together, but then next chapter they say, no, I don't want to be together. We can't be together. This one felt like another novella. Like it was around the 200-page mark. Honestly, I think a little less. So I would have liked to see at least 50 or so more pages so we can get more character and relationship development, because it just felt really quick. I wouldn't say insta-lovey, it was really fast paced and I would have liked to see more. There was miscommunication, they contradicted their feelings. every other chapter basically. I did like some of the moments, so that's why I gave it a middle of the road 3-star rating, just because I didn't know what to do with it. Next book. Oh boy, do I have words. Okay, the next arc I read was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This was another one I read for my 24-hour readathon, so you can see me reading it in that vlog and you'll get my thoughts like as I'm reading it. I absolutely adore It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, Sinker. Both are 5-star reads for me. And so I requested this book on NetGalley. Honestly did not think I would get it, but lo and behold, it showed up on my Kindle one day. I said, oh, great. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because if I bought this and I didn't like it, then I would have been mad. I gave this book 2.5 stars. It just, I don't know, it didn't hit the mark for me. It felt really long. So the basic premise of this is, this girl is a gardener for this family. She's working on, like, a garden in front of this guy's portion of the family's house. And so they see each other, like, every day when she's going there. She likes him. She's not getting the same vibe back from him. So she starts writing secret admirer letters to this guy and leaving them on his jogging path. Which, honestly, now that I think about it, that's a little stalkery. I would be creeped out if that happened to me. So he, like, was getting these letters and he didn't respond to them for a while. But then one day he does, and she finds out that he's responding, and she was like, well, why is he responding to those when he's been, like, talking to me and having feelings for me? Like, why would he respond to someone else? And I was like, girl, it's literally you. Why are you jealous of yourself? The logic was not logicking in my brain. Yeah, I just started getting annoyed because of that, and it happened multiple times where she was, like, hurt that he was responding to her and she didn't tell him. She had so many opportunities to come clean and tell him it was her, and she just didn't. And she kept getting hurt. I have no words. And I skimmed the last 20%-ish because I just, I was so bored and frustrated. So yeah, 2.5 stars. And then I read 2 of, like, my new all-time favorite books. The first one is Alright to Forever by Julie Olivia. This was another arc. This is one of my top anticipated releases of the year. This is the 3rd book in the Honeywood Park series. It's set in a theme park. It's found family type vibe with a big group of friends. I loved every single character in these books. Like, every single friend in the friend group, love them to death. I was not expecting this one to be the one I was gonna like the most out of the ones we have so far, but it is. This is a full-on 6 stars out of 5 for me. Like, infinity stars. Another one I read for my 24-hour readathon, so you can go see that again, of my in-time thoughts. I loved every single second of this. I went through this so fast because I just did not want to put it down. This one was about Orson and Theo, and it was Marriage of Convenience. I will say, though, that I think book 4 might take the cake on this one. We'll have to wait and see, but I have been waiting for book 4 since book 1. Ruby and Bennett's book. The epilogue of Alright to Forever set up the last book so perfectly. On to our first physical book, and that is Final Offer by Lauren Asher, the 3rd and final book in the Dreamland Billionaires series. I did start this in January. You'll see it's in my January wrap-up. I read about 150 pages, I think, because it came out January 31st. And my little tiny pea brain really thought I was going to be able to get through this almost 600-page book in one day. No, I read 150-ish pages on the first day, and then I finished it later on. And I loved it. 5 stars, 6 stars, whatever. My favorite of the series. Not my favorite Lauren Asher book or favorite book of all time. Redeemed still holds that place. This is Cal and Alana's story. Cal, his tasked for his grandfather in order to inherit his portion of the will is to sell their lake house. But Alana is living there and she doesn't want to sell it. So there's some conflict there. This was a second chance romance. This is one of the only exceptions that I like of second chance romances. I think it's just because of the characters. I love the characters so much. I also have a reading vlog for this series because I reread the first two books and then I read this. I cried. I am excited for Love Redesigned in November. I had to take a little break because my camera was charging, so I'm going to try and get through the rest of these quickly so that doesn't happen again. The next book I read this month was an ARC, and that was Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. Another one that I could not believe I got the ARC for, and it does not come out until May, but I could not wait. This is the second book in the When in Rome series, the Audrey Hepburn series. I don't know what the actual name for it is, or if it has a name, but I'm just gonna call it the When in Rome series. This one is about Will and Annie. Annie is the younger sister of Noah from When in Rome, and Will is Amelia's bodyguard from When in Rome. Bodyguard, executive, protective agent, whatever you want to call them. They were really cute. I gave this book 4.5 stars, which is what I gave When in Rome as well. There were a few moments that the characters frustrated me with their decisions and choices. Can move past it, it's fine. I think it also had a little back and forth about them wanting to be together and then not letting themselves be together. I think I liked it a little tad bit more than When in Rome, just because I liked the characters more. I related to Annie quite a bit, so I feel like that's why I liked this book so much, and I liked her as a character so much. Sarah Adams is like my second favorite author, so getting this ARC, I was ecstatic, clearly, because I couldn't wait to read it for 2 months. Another not so great book that I read was Springtide by Key Stevens. This one is another 2.5 star for me. I was so excited to read this because I'd seen it all over my Instagram. It's a football sports romance between a football player and a sports medicine student. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I wouldn't consider this a spoiler because it happens pretty early on. She agrees to help him out with his injury and keep it quiet so that he can still play and work. And he agreed to help her make the guy she liked jealous. My issue with this was a lot of the dialogue between the characters didn't feel very natural, and it didn't feel like conversations that normal people would have or the way a normal person would talk. And then what really bugged me was the conflict. The conflict happened and was resolved within, I think, a chapter or 2 chapters. It was just like that at the very end too. And the conflict, like, he said some pretty mean and messed up stuff to her. And if I was her, I would not have gone back to him. I would have said, no, we're done. Completely done. But a couple pages later, she was just like, yeah, of course you're forgiven. I don't know. That's why I got a low rating from me, and I don't think the author's writing is really for me, so I probably will not continue with that series, because it is a series. And then I went back and I finished my reread of Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I was doing a reread of the fine print and Terms and Conditions before the final offer, but I still had like 200 pages left of this on the release day final offer, so I decided to put it on the back burner and finish it later. This one is Declan and Iris' story. Iris is one of my favorite female characters in a book ever. I talked more about it in my January wrap-up, as well as my reading vlog for the series, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it since it's a reread. But basically, marriage of convenience, workplace romance. Yeah. I read a few books this month for another video that should be coming out in the next week or so. And one of those books was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I've been wanting to read this for months, but I just didn't get to it, but I finally had to for this video. So you can see by the tabs, I haven't gone back and annotated fully yet, but this was a 5 stars. I absolutely loved every single second of this. Well, mostly, but what I didn't like about it was not enough to outweigh what I liked, so it's 5 stars. This is about Daniel and Alexis. She just broke up with her boyfriend, who was mentally abusive, and her parents are just still in love with him and want them to get back together, and she's not having it. And then she meets Daniel, who lives in this small town. It was a one-night stand to begin with, but then she just keeps coming back, and she doesn't want to leave because her life is so much better there. This was really cute. I loved it. And then the last ARC I read this month was Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is just a short, around 100-page little prequel novella for the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I gave this little novella of 4 stars because it's not super connected to the story. Like, it's not necessary to read it in order to understand something, and doesn't give a whole lot of backstory on these characters. It's more just like a little fun murder mystery party. And I would describe it, the murder mystery that they're solving at this party is like Knives Out and Glass Onion, like the 2 movies in that universe mixed together. So it's like the vibes of Knives Out, where it's like there's a giant family and the grandfather or father is murdered and he has a will and some people are not on the will. And then it has the vibes of Knives Out, Glass Onion, where it's on an island and there's only one boat that brings people there, so it has to be someone on that island and in the room who murdered the father, grandfather, whoever. So Pip and her friends, and they're all assigned a character, and like in typical Holly Jackson form, which I absolutely love, there are like little clues and pieces of paper and like mixed media in the book. And Holly Jackson does that in the other books for the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, where there's like interviews and there's emails, pieces of paper, little notes and stuff. I love that in books. And this whole prequel was like just to show how Pip got into her senior project. The murder mystery party is how she figured out what she wanted to do for her senior project. Again, like I said, not totally necessary because that only happens within the last couple pages. But yeah, it was fun. I loved it. The last 2 books I read were for this other video that I'm doing. And the first one was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I think I gave this 3.5 stars. I'm pretty sure it's marketed as a rom-com, and it's definitely funny. Like, I laughed out loud multiple times. And there's one moment in this that literally felt like I was reading the script of a Housewives episode, but it didn't feel very romancy to me, if I'm being honest. So this follows Hannah, and she is a bodyguard or executive protective agent like Will in Practice Makes Perfect, and she and her team are assigned this case for a famous celebrity, very famous, who has been hiding out for a couple years. His name is Jack, but he's coming home because his mom is sick, but he doesn't want to worry his parents, so he convinces Hannah to be his fake girlfriend in front of the parents. Fake dating, forced proximity. It was cute. I enjoyed reading it. Would I read it again? Probably not, but I do recommend it. It's really fun. And the last book I read this month is my thoughts on this are probably a bit controversial. I think I'm in the minority of people who don't particularly love this book, and that would have to be Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I didn't love Macy and Elliot as individual characters or together. They were just kind of there for me. This was just a story that I just read. I think I'm landing on 3.5 stars. It was 4 stars up until maybe the last 100 pages. Similar to Springtide, this conflict at the end was revealed and resolved far too quickly for my liking. Also, another book where I wanted another 50 pages of Macy and Elliot actually together in the present. I honestly think I enjoyed past Macy and Elliot more than present Macy and Elliot. I didn't like the storyline with Sean. I don't know how necessary that was. And I feel like we didn't see a ton of Macy and Elliot in the present until like the last 150 pages. I'd been putting it off for so long because so many people love this and this is so many people's favorite book ever. I'm glad I did read it, but if I had read it a year and a half ago, probably would have been 5 stars. But just not my favorite, and you know what? That is okay. That was all I read for the month of February, and I'm really hoping to get a lot of physical books read next month because I have been spending too much time on my Kindle reading books that I should not be reading because I have too many that I have paid good money for that I haven't read yet. Oh, let's backtrack for a second. I am also currently reading Consider Me by Becca Mack on my Kindle. I think I'm 25% into it, and I honestly don't know if I'm going to continue it or if I'm going to DNF it, because at 25% it seems so slow but also so fast at the same time. Like, the reading is so slow, it feels so long, and I felt like I'd been reading for so long, but I'm only 25% in. And then the relationship just seems so fast. Like, how are we this far into the relationship at only 25% of the book? I don't understand it. Maybe I'll read another 25%, and at 50%, if I'm still not feeling it, I'll stop. I'll let you know how that goes next month. But this is what I read this month, and that's all that matters. That is all I have for this video. My camera is about to die again, so I hope I see you in the next video.